This is a little help with worksheet 1.7. So I'll try to do like one in each section. There's two things you need to know how to do. Find the midpoint of a segment and the distance between 2 points. So first, to get in the middle of two numbers, you need to average them. So you add them and divide by 2. So when we're trying to get in the middle of, say, 20 and 30, I can see it's 25. But if you can't see it, you add them and then divide by 2. And you'll notice that when I add them and divide by 2, I do land myself right at 25. So in this first set, you're just going to add the two numbers and divide it by 2. You can even use a calculator. Just make sure you hit enter after you do the 5 plus negative 9. That would be a negative 4 divided by 2, which is a negative 2. So that first piece, nice and easy. Now, when we're trying to get not in the middle of two numbers, but in the middle of 2 points, we do the same thing because this has an X and a Y. And this has an X and a Y. And again, to get in the middle, we add and divide by 2. So we basically average the X's. So let's go take a look at number 7. We do 14 plus 7. And then we cut it in half to get in the middle of the X's. Then we average the Y's by adding them up and averaging them out. So really you just add and divide by 2, add and divide by 2, a really easy formula. Now you might want to put that on your note card, that the midpoint, add X's, divide by 2, add Y's, divide by 2. And again, you can pause this if I'm going too fast, but let's go clean this up. My X's, my 14 plus 7 is a 21 over 2. And my negative 2 plus negative 8 is a negative 10 over 2. So my midpoint on a graph, if I were to plot this point and plot this point, the point that's right smack in the middle would be 10.5, negative 5. So again, you just add the X's, divide by 2, goes in the first slot. Add the Y's, divide by 2, goes in the second slot. Easy peasy. The next section's a little trickier. It says the coordinates of point S are given, and then they give you the midpoint and find the others. There's a formula for this, but I'm going to tell you that if I said that Zimmerman is halfway between Elk River and where I want to go, well, if I went 6 miles to get to Zimmerman, I would continue forward 6 miles to get to where I want to go, right? So if something's in the middle, if you just walk there or drive there and keep on driving in the same direction, you will land yourself at the other endpoint. So what I tell kids is put the one endpoint down, that would be like Elk River. Put the midpoint down, it's at 6, negative 10. And then your other endpoint, you'll just keep on walking. This went back 3, so you'll go back 3 more. This went back 7, down 7, so you'll go down 7 more. And you can just walk yourself to the other endpoint. It's pretty slick. Okay, so I'm not going to do 9 or 11, but I am going to give you another sample of that. So if I have A at negative 2, 5, and a midpoint at 1, 4. To find the other endpoint, here's what I do. I say, well, this went 3 forward, so like this, 6 forward. So I will continue 3 forward to get to 4. This went 1 backwards, down 1, so I'll go down 1 more because it's in the middle, so I have to keep walking the same distance. So I'll be down 1 to 3. And you can see that 4 is right smack in the middle of 5 and 3. And 1 is right smack in the middle of negative 2 and 4. So my advice to you is walk to the midpoint and keep on walking. When you have a graph, you're going to do exactly what we set up there. You're going to going to add the x's and divide by 2, but you need to see them to add them. So this would be the point -3, 3 to the left, and 4 up. This would be the point 6 to the left, and 1 up. To find what's right in the middle, you will add the x's, which I'm not going to do for you, divide by 2, that will go right here, and then you'll add the y's, divide by 2, and that will go right there. Next up, the distance formula says, and this might be note card worthy, you might want to write distance. It says you take and subtract the x's, it's really how far apart they are, and square them. Now in this scenario, let's go look at number 15. This would be considered first x, second x. This one would be considered first y, second y. So according to the formula, you always throw a root down, throw a root down, throw a root down, throw a root down. You subtract the x's, so you do 5 minus 5, and you square it. In addition, you subtract the y's and square them. So, in addition, I subtract the y's, I do 3 minus, this y is -5, and I square it. The rest of it gets cleaned up, so I have 5 minus 5 is 0 squared. 0 squared is 0. Plus, remember 3 minus 5, when we have the double negatives, 3 minus and -5 becomes 3 plus 5. So that would be 8 squared. And that can be done on a calculator, but 8 times 8 is 64. The square root of 64 is 8. So that's the distance between those 2 points. If this had been the square root of 65, which isn't nice on your calculator, then you're supposed to round to the nearest tenth. Remember, that's the first decimal place that you round to. So that's a little help on your distance formula. When you're doing the distance formula off the graph, same thing. You need to write the points down. This is -3, 4. That's considered x1, y1. Down here is the point 6, 1. And that's considered x2, y2. You don't need to memorize the formula because you can use a note card, but remember it's got a square root for the distance. And remember, we call that CD without anything over it. That means how long is it. So if it asks you what CD, see how it says find the length? So we do x2 second x minus x1 first x. The minute I write that double negative right there, boom, boom, right? 2 negatives make a positive when you're adding. All right, next thing, I shouldn't say that, when you're subtracting. When you subtract a negative, you get a positive. In addition, we now take the second y, which was a 1, and we subtract off the first y, which is a 4. Then we go to our calculator or do it in our head, whatever floats our boat. We have 9. Now notice if you go back up to the graph, watch me walk over there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is 9. And 1, 2, 3. That's where I'm getting -3 because it was 3 down. So it is the distance between the y's and the distance between the x's. 9 times 9 is 81. -3 times -3 is +9. 81 plus 9 is 90, and I don't have a calculator, so we'll leave that to you to round it to the nearest tenth. It'll be 9 point something, but you need to fill in the something. So that's it. Keep plugging away and try to get all caught up. You have a test coming up at the end of the week.